everybody, and welcome back to the End Zone, brought to you by Gym Bag Entertainment. And I'm your host, Craig. And you know we here to talk football for an hour, and I got some entertainment for you. I hope you like it. But let's jump into some of the news that happened over the past week or so. I was out for 2 weeks. Couple things came up, but I'm back now. Hopefully, ain't gonna miss no more. So let's jump right into it. Tom Brady is making his broadcaster's debut. Week 1, Cowboys versus the Browns. And you know, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little salty about this. How you not making your first debut as a broadcaster on a Patriots game? Like, that don't make no sense. I could understand a San Fran game because the man's from the Bay Area. But, you know, can you peoples get some love, bro? Come and broadcast our games. That's what we want to see. But that's not the case. Cowboys versus Cleveland, Week 1. Tom Brady making his broadcasting debut. And speaking of Tom Brady, I don't know if you guys have caught it yet on Netflix, but Tom Brady did the roast. And for those of you not familiar with the roast, it's essentially a bunch of celebrities and friends that get up and completely rash on Tom Brady. Joke after joke, nothing is off limits, and it gets pretty brutal. And then at the end, the guest of honor, this time being Tom Brady, gets his minutes of fame and gets to attack anybody who attacked him. And let me tell you, this thing was hilarious. Shout out to the MVP of the night, Nikki Glazier. Oh, man, she hit hard. Tom Brady and everybody else was just getting it left and right. And it was pretty cool. You had Drew Bledsoe, who was on there, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski. To much of our surprise, Bill Belichick was on there. Robert Kraft, he didn't roast, but he definitely was there. Kevin Hart was hosting. And we had a couple other comedians. Sammy, I can't remember her last name, comedian out of Boston. She was on there, completely hilarious. And it was a really good time. For those of you who haven't yet seen it yet, please jump on. And it was funny. It was very, very entertaining. And I could watch it again. But Tom Brady took it on the chin like a champ. And it was very fun to listen. Next we have Jared Goff. Hats off to Jared Goff securing the bag, getting an extension, 4 years, $212 million. That's $53 million a year. Something like I think it was 140 or 170 million guaranteed. Like, can I say, Jared Goff is one of those guys, hard-working, gridiron, like non-flashy guys getting a big deal that he deserves. You know, hats off to him. Definitely a guy you wouldn't think would garner that much money, but definitely a quarterback worth every penny. He's been in the NFC Championship twice, and he's playing great football in Detroit, and they lost no weapons, so look for him to continue on his success. So hats off and flowers to Jared Goff. Couple not so big splashes in the free agency. Tyler Boyd to Tennessee. This is a move I actually kind of like. They're trying to give Will Levis a lot of veteran wide receiver help. So obviously, you know, they have DeAndre Hopkins. They signed Calvin Ridley. And they brought in Tyler Boyd. I said Tyler Boyd. They brought in Tyler Boyd, but Tony Pollard, and now Tyler Boyd. So he's got a lot of veteran talent around him. Tyler Boyd could come in and play that slot role. That Chigakonku. Wow, just messing up names left and right. What's his name? Traylon Burks should have been playing the big body slot, and maybe he'll get some opportunities if he can stay healthy to play that role. But Tyler Boyd comes in, and it's a nice weapon to give Will Levis as much opportunity to succeed as possible. So I really like this play. Zay Jones, surprisingly, I thought he would stay with Jacksonville, having a lot of success with the connection between him and Trevor Lawrence, but he makes a move over to Arizona which is a move I like as well. Zay Jones is not the receiver that anybody thought he was going to be when he got drafted into the NFL, but he is a viable number 3, and when he's out there, he is dangerous. Super sleeper, one of those guys you want to draft in best ball, because you know he's going to have splash games where he scores 2 touchdowns, but you're never going to start him on that week. So if you do best ball, Zay Jones could be a great snag, even I think even more so now in Arizona with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison pulling all the defense to one side of the field. Michael Gallup signs with Las Vegas. This is 100% a depth move. They let Hunter Renfrow go. In comes Michael Gallup. Never a guy who really, did too much when he was with Dallas outside of his first year, maybe even his second, but still a good move to add depth with a veteran wide receiver. Odell Beckham signs with Miami. This is an odd move for Miami. 100%, I feel like this is just a name recognition sign. And maybe if Waddle were to go down or Tyreek Hill goes down, at least they have a viable weapon. Last year, he when healthy, which he was healthy pretty much most of the season, but when healthy, he had his moments. He shined a little bit better in the playoffs, but it's Odell Beckham Jr., so it's fun to watch, but definitely not a guy you're going to be drafting in redraft leagues. DJ Chark signs with the Chargers. This is a move I didn't really understand too much. DJ Chark, I think, is a guy who's kind of past his prime. One-trick pony, kind of a deep threat guy, which I guess they don't really have. I feel like I sneakily like the Chargers wide receivers right now. If Lad McConkey is definitely going to be the number 1 wide receiver there, and a lot of people projected him as a slot receiver, but I think he's more of a perimeter receiver. You got Joshua Palmer, who could play that X role, and then not a lot of people talking about Brandon Rice, guy who has really good hands in route running, not a super dynamic wide receiver, fell pretty far in the draft, so there's not a whole lot of draft capital. But when you play with a quarterback of the likes of Justin Herbert, your game is going to get elevated. And I think that Brendan Rice will come in and eliminate Quentin Johnston's position. Quentin Johnston should have been more of a gadget guy, and they try to use him as a downfield receiver. So maybe with all these weapons, he gets to play more of the position he's meant to play. But I don't know. I think that, and with the addition of DJ Chark as a deep threat, once again, when healthy, I think that the Chargers could be a very viable wide receiver room, and I think that Justin Herbert is being undervalued. Maybe I don't look at him as a top 10 fantasy quarterback, but I think he might still have top 10 quarterback potential, depending on how these wide receivers pan out. And then you have MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, signing a 1-year deal with Buffalo. And this is clearly just to replace Gabe Davis. A cheaper Gabe Davis, I think maybe a cheaper Gabe Davis. But definitely the same exact thing. One-trick pony, speedster down the field, a little bit older. So I don't love this signing. But, who knows? Khalil Shakir in the slot. And then they're going to use Keon Coleman as an X receiver, which is kind of stupid. But, we'll see how it all plays out. All right, so I got a couple things. After getting through that news, I got a couple things I wanted to go at. Let's start off with my early rankings, right? I did this the other day, and I did an early rankings, AFC, NFC, and not where they're going to finish total, but where they're going to finish in the season. So let's start off with the NFC, because the AFC is my side, and we'll save the best for last. So in the AFC, with the weapons Philly has, Jalen Hurts, they got a new offensive coordinator, and they added Saquon Barkley. They shored up the offensive line. They brought in some defensive weapons, and then they drafted 2 of the best 3 corners in this year's draft, and they still have Darius Slay. So adding Cooper DeJean and adding the number 1 cornerback, Quentin Mitchell, this team looks like it's going to go right back into Super Bowl mode. So I got Philly finishing in first place in the NFC. After that, I know a lot of people think San Fran's that team, but I think San Fran is going to have a little bit of a slump this season. I think the depression of not winning the Super Bowl, I don't think it's going to drive them to win. They only added Ricky Pearsall as an offensive weapon. They didn't really make enough moves to make their team much different. And so with that being said, I don't think that it gives them a lot of viability to go back and do what they did for a second season. I think teams are going to figure them out, that man coverage is the coverage to play against these guys, and it will lessen their production. Obviously, CMC is always going to produce for you, and likes of Brandon Ayuk being an excellent route runner. The possibility of with drafting Ricky Pearsall, that there's a strong possibility that Deebo Samuel gets traded. So this could be a different team come week 1, or it could be a different team come mid-season. So I don't like San Fran at 2. I got to go Detroit. My boy Jared Goff got the bag, and he's one of those dudes. He ain't going to get the bag and then sit back on it and rest on his laurels. He's going to show people why he deserves that money, and I think that they're going to go even harder this year. Guys like Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gibbs getting his second year, David Montgomery, just falling short of that ring. I think these guys have something to prove, and I think this is the year they're going to push for that NFC title and maybe even a Super Bowl. Then I got to bring in San Fran, because after that, I don't think any of these other teams are, I think they're the best team in their division, and I think that they're going to still rock out. They're not going to fall off a cliff, so they'll definitely be the top team in their division. And then Atlanta, with the addition of Kirk Cousins and the drafting of Michael Penix Jr. There's a lot of drama around this, how stupid it was for them to waste the draft capital on a guy like Michael Penix Jr. But that, to me, was a very smart move that they made. They're at 8, and there's at least 3 teams below them that are coveting the likes of Michael Penix Jr. You signed and gave big money to a guy like Kirk Cousins, who's coming off an Achilles injury. What if it gets reaggravated? Do you really want to rest your season? You got 3 young, playmaking offensive weapons in Bijan, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London. Do you really want to risk having another bad season with these guys and getting these guys another year older without giving them the best possible chance to win? And is that Taylor Heineke? I think not. So you bring in Michael Penix, you let him battle with Kirk Cousins in training camp. Kirk's going to win the game. He's going to win the job. You paid him all this money. You got to let him start. But if he goes down, Michael Penix was the most NFL-ready quarterback in this year's draft. The man he's tall, he's strong, he can throw the ball anywhere on the field, and when it comes to being in the pocket, he's quite elusive. He can avoid the sack, and he's a young, talented quarterback on a young, talented team. If Kirk goes down, Penix is there, and that will keep them in the playoff hunt and keep them winning the division. So I got to put ATL at 4. Then I got to go Green Bay here. Now, I love Green Bay. I was not a Jordan Love believer, but I believe now. And I think Jordan Love had the perfect situation to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for 4 years so that he could develop the confidence and rapport with his players to come in and dominate. And I don't see regression happening. They have all these young, talented pass catchers. They bring in Josh Jacobs, the bell cow. They bring in competition for him with the running back Marshawn Lloyd, who, he got fumble problems. I'm not a big fan of him in fantasy, but it gives Josh Jacobs a little rest, being a 3-down back, carrying the load. It's going to give this team everything they need. They shored up some defensive weapons, and I think that they are hungry. So they could fight for the division. I think between them and Detroit, you have a real battle going on, and I'm here for it. Then, I don't really love Dallas this year. They didn't really do what they said they were going to do and go all in. No re-sign of Dak. They bring back Ezekiel Elliott. They don't really add any offensive weapons, so they're not looking any better than they did last year. So because of that defense, I got to put them here in that 6th spot. Then I got to go Rams. And I might almost want to put the Rams over Dallas, but that Dallas defense is too tough. So I got to put the Rams right below them. Another year of Puka Nacua, a fully healthy Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams in the backfield, and they added Blake Corum, who is basically the mirror image of Kyron Williams. So not if, when he goes down, they'll keep rolling right along with Blake Corum and probably get the same production. Defense is doing well. They added weapons. And they re-signed Demaryius Robinson. So I think this team is going to hit the ground running. You got Matt Stafford fully healthy, and I think this team is ready to roll. And then we got to go Chicago Bears. Now, don't get me wrong, the Chicago Bears might be higher than this. I might even put them above Dallas and the Rams. Caleb Williams, the best quarterback prospect we've seen since Andrew Luck. And all the talent in the world and all the weapons in the world around him. The defense still looks good, and they drafted Rome Odunze, which was an incredible move. I was so disappointed. I wanted to see him go to another team that didn't have the weapons that he could go in and become that guy. But at the end of the day, I'm seeing the rapport building between these two in the offseason. They're hanging out. They're becoming best of buds. Look for that combination to just go off. I'm going to talk more about that when I get to the fantasy side of this week's episode. But Chicago's defense was top of the pack come end of the season. Offensive line, middle of the pack. And they've all around have only gotten better. New coaching staff. And this is set up for Caleb Williams to succeed, and if he fails, it will be the biggest fail in NFL history, in my opinion. So I think that this team is gonna rock, and they're gonna go hard with all these weapons. It's going to be a show, and then we got to go on to Seattle. And I almost wanted to put Minnesota above Seattle, but you got to go with the veteran quarterback. Geno Smith is in there, and this is his third year as the starting quarterback. Last year we had a little bit of a slump. I believe that he has what it takes to flip the script and get right back on track. All the weapons in the world. He's got 3 high-level wide receivers. He's got the two-headed beast in the backfield with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. They got a good tight end in Noah Fant, who they just re-signed to an extension. Everything in this is built for them to succeed. And they better not drop the ball here. I really feel like they could make some really good strides, and they made some decent moves in the draft. So I think Seattle can come in and make work and be a contender for a wild card spot. Then you got Minnesota, and they draft J.J. McCarthy, and where they got him at 11 was ideal. They didn't have to lose any draft capital. And they were able to get not only a good quarterback who can play in the system under one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the league. They got the weapons. They got the weapons around him. The best wide receiver in the NFL with Justin Jefferson. They got a really good year 2 wide receiver with Jordan Addison. Halfway through the season, they get back T.J. Hawkinson. It was a big mistake that they did not get another tight end to complement and to take place of what they're losing with T.J. Hawkinson gone. To be honest with you, I don't even know who their starting tight end is going into the season. It's crazy. I think J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold will battle for that starting role. I think Sam Darnold might start the season, but I think by the time we get to week 6, week 8, I think J.J. McCarthy will come in and ball out. I'm not a big J.J. McCarthy believer, but in this system, I feel like it's very hard for him to fail. They got the run game. They got the weapons to throw the ball to. And they've got the best, one of the best coaching minds in the NFL. So it's all set up for him to succeed, and I think he's ready to do so, and he's putting in the work. So, hopefully he can bring it all together and prove why he was a first-round draft pick. Then I got to go with Arizona. I mean, Kyler Murray is coming back. He came in last year being hurt. And once he was ready to go, he hit the ground running. Now you bring in the number one wide receiver of the draft, Marvin Harrison Jr. Like I said, they added Zay Jones. They still have Greg Dortch, Conor McGregor. Yeah, as if. James Conner in the backfield, and they draft Trey Benson. So now you got a two-headed monster back there. Forget about those other guys. They're irrelevant. Decent O-line, good coaching. This team is ready to roll. And don't let me forget, one of the best tight ends in the game, Trey McBride. Like, this team is set up to succeed as well. Lot of great teams going on this year in the NFL. I think this might be one of the most exciting years in the NFL for offense. Like, there's weapons everywhere. There's not too many teams that are like just of crap caliber. We got a lot of weapons, a lot of good QBs. Almost every NFL team has their quarterback. Outside of Las Vegas and the Giants, possibly Denver and Tennessee, like, who doesn't have their quarterback? I'm looking right now. Everybody's got almost everybody has a quarterback. Next year, you'll have the draft, and after that, I'm pretty sure everybody will have their quarterback. So we'll see how that plays out. But Arizona's looking really good. Offensively, they're tough. They just got to get that defense in line, and they won the draft this year. Getting Marvin Harrison Jr., they got defensive weapons and offensive linemen. This team is put together. Then I got to go with Tampa Bay. I almost put Washington here, but I got to go Tampa Bay simply because they got really good defensive coach. They've got their defense is relatively good. All the offensive weapons they could need. Baker Mayfield playing great football. For what he was to what he's become, he's really got his stuff together. He's buckled down, and he's made this team into a playoff team. So I'm really liking Tampa Bay, the team that knocked Philly out of the playoffs. If we can get more of that, they got the run game, they got the receivers, and they've got their quarterback for now. So let's see how that plays out. Now, I think some people might be surprised. No, not yet. Sorry, I got one more. I got the Washington Commanders coming in after Tampa Bay. You got the young kid, Jaden Daniels, the quarterback I love. Can scramble and run just as good as any of these other running quarterbacks. He's like a RG3 plus. And he's got a cannon for an arm, super accurate. And a lot of people saying, he had two of the first round draft pick wide receivers. Well, let's not forget, he's got scary Terry McLaurin, who the only reason why he hasn't been super productive over the last 2 years is because his quarterback play has been terrible. In comes Jaden Daniel. He is going to pepper Scary Terry with targets all season long. And he is going to be Scary Terry again. I can't wait to see the way that this duo matches up in real NFL activity. Now, the problem is they do have a not so great offensive line. So hopefully they can get this offensive line working together to give him a little bit of time to throw the ball so he doesn't have to run as much. Also, they need to protect him, get him to protect himself a little bit better, get better at sliding and taking less damage. But, he was taking hits in college, and I don't remember Jaden Daniels being hurt and missing tons of time like a guy like Michael Penix. So I think, maybe he's just built different. He can take them hits, but this is the NFL, and guys run faster and hit harder. So we'll see how it plays out. But if he can stay healthy, the Washington Commanders are looking to finish, a little distance away from the bottom, And then maybe the failure of Jahan Dotson was also due to bad quarterback play, and maybe Jaden Daniels can revive this first-round draft picks, stock. Also, they bring in Christian McCaffrey's brother. So how will he do? He's a good quality route runner. He was also once a quarterback, so he understands where he needs to be. So I think that just adds to his ability to succeed. And homeboy is fast. He definitely beat his brother's 40 time. So speed, route running, good hands, and the knowledge of where a receiver needs to be for the quarterback to get him the ball, that all speaks to success. Then I got to go with what I think might be the biggest surprise is Carolina. A lot of people counting Carolina out, thinking that Bryce Young is just a dud, and I don't believe that. If you look at what he did with the weapons he had, Tyreek Hill for the first half of the season was a top 5 wide receiver. In comes Deontay Johnson. They draft Xavier Legette, and Adam Thielen is still there. Maybe Jonathan Mingo, seeing the way all of his teammates are elevated, maybe that inspires him. They draft the number 1 running back, Jonathan Brooks, in the backfield, still having Miles Sanders and having Chuba Hubbard. So this offense is stacked. They added offensive line help, and they added weapons on the defense. And I'm hearing there's a possibility that they could sign the likes of Xavier Howard or Stephon Gilmore, giving their defense that much more viability. So I like what I'm seeing out of Carolina. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they are not going to be a bottom 3, maybe not even a bottom 5 team. I think they might be able to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get closer to the top of the bottom 10. They're definitely not going to be a playoff team this year, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but Bryce Young was drafted number 1 overall for a reason, and now he's got the weapons to show you guys why. Then I got the New Orleans Saints coming in, almost at the bottom. I don't believe in Derek Carr anymore. I love Derek Carr. Derek Carr has been one of my favorite quarterbacks since he entered the league. I think he has some viability, but I do also believe that there's a strong possibility that Spencer Rattler could steal this job before the season is over, and we have a whole new offense by the end of the season. I just don't think that they have what it takes to finish outside of the bottom 5. And then finally, the New York Giants, I believe this is tank year. They don't want to deal with Daniel Jones, but they got to deal with him for one more year. They got their wide receiver of the future. They still have Jalen Hyatt as their speedster, and they didn't draft any running back help this year. They did draft running back help. In the 5th, 6th round, they got Tracy, who I do like for later on in the season. I'll get to that when I talk about my sleepers, but they're going to build for the future. They've got a relatively good defense, couple more pieces to make it a little bit better. They need that quarterback, and they need one more weapon. And I think that they do need a tight end, so there's some stuff that they need. I think they're going to tank this year. Will it be intentional? I have no idea. But I think they're going to finish as, if not the last place, second to last. So look for the Giants to have a high draft pick next year. All right, let's move on to the AFC. We got Houston finishing number 1 overall. The boy C.J. Stroud came in and took the lead by storm last year. Proved all the naysayers wrong. This kid is a true baller. Confidence through the roof. Now you add Joe Mixon in the backfield. Super consistent. Not the most talented running back, but he's super consistent. And if he gets his touches, he's going to put in work for you. Better offensive line than he had previously. You bring in Stephon Diggs. Now, I don't love bringing in Stephon Diggs. I think he could be a locker room cancer. But if C.J. Stroud is airing it out all day and Diggs gets his touches, I think maybe he might. They restructured his contract for it to be a 1-year deal. He's gonna want to prove it so he can get the bag next year. So I think he's gonna try to avoid being too dramatic and just play it out. You got one of the best quarterbacks throwing you the ball. Let's just chill out and see how it plays out. I think Houston could win the division and go to the Super Bowl. They got the defensive weapons. They added things in the draft that they needed. I think Houston has the makings of a Super Bowl contending team. You got to go KC here, but I'm a little leery of that. But who in the division is going to beat KC? I don't think the Chargers aren't going to do it. Vegas definitely ain't going to do it. Neither is Denver. So KC is going to finish top of the division, which puts them in that second spot. You got Patrick Mahomes. Last year, Patrick Mahomes showed you that he is that guy. He is him. His team was god-awful last year, and he wins a Super Bowl with it. That's some Tom Brady-esque swag right there. You know, he's proving that he is the new GOAT. He ain't the GOAT. He's just the new GOAT. He's up and coming. And man, what he did last year is impressive. Then they go ahead and add the fastest wide receiver in the draft, Xavier Worthy, who, even if you take away his speed, has great route running. Hands are a little sus, but hopefully they can work on that in the offseason. Now, the only problem I have here is Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice gets a little hit and run action, you know, so you're thinking maybe a little slap on the wrist, but then homeboy goes and assaults a cameraman in a nightclub. What does this mean for Rashee Rice? Will he get suspended and miss half the season? Will it get drawn out till next year like with Alvin Kamara? I'm not really sure. If Rashee Rice plays this year full season, KC is going to be like, I might have to put KC at 1. Because if you got Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Isaiah Pacheco in the backfield, they brought back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You know, the defense, they only lost one defensive weapon I can't even think of his name right now. You know, they lost their cornerback, so maybe, and I think they added something in the draft, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's no way with Patrick Mahomes on this squad that they could come in and not finish second. At the very least, if not, repeat. Then I got to go Cincinnati. Cincinnati added offensive weapon. They brought in Zach Moss as a running back, and they draft Jermaine Burton, who was a complete steal for them. This dude should have been a first, second round pick. But due to off-field issues, he falls to them in the third round, where some people thought he was going to fall to the fourth or fifth. But Cincinnati said, nah, no way. We're not going to have T. Higgins next year. Let's get this guy in ASAP Rocky. Then I got to go Baltimore. You know, Baltimore didn't do a ton in the offseason, but the biggest thing they did was add Derrick Henry to the backfield. This will be the first time in the Lamar Jackson era that they've had a true number one running back, top 10 running back. I told you this before, I'll say it again, vintage Derrick Henry. Not that we've had a fall off Derrick Henry, but last year was super suspect because of the bad offensive line, bad offensive playing in general. This year, Derrick Henry is going to return to form. He's going to be getting the yards, over 1,000 yards easy this season. And then they drafted Dontez Walker. You know, not the greatest weapon they could have added, but he's a weapon nonetheless. Zay Jones for another year. We got Nelson Aguilar. Hopefully we can have a fully healthy, really just spacing on names today. Mark Andrews. So hopefully if all of his weapons are healthy and Lamar Jackson can stay healthy, this is an offense that's firing on all cylinders. And the defense, they didn't lose too much. They added some weapons as well. So hopefully Baltimore will be true to form this season. Then I had to go with the Jets in leading the division. Number one defense in the league. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, then I got to put him here. If Aaron Rodgers misses time, and I mean real time, half a season plus, I would put Buffalo in this position. But I got to go with the Jets. Best defense. They got a quarterback who can deliver the ball. They added all kinds of weapons. You know, some weapons that aren't going to stay healthy like Mike Williams, but they got the gadget player, the rookie Malachi Corley. They brought in Braylon Allen in the backfield, big body running back. They've got one of the best running backs in the league in Breece Hall, one of the best wide receivers in the league with Wilson. And this is just a team that's ready to win as long as Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy. I think they made a huge mistake not trying to make a play for one of these quarterbacks. I would have taken a chance on Trey Lance, you know, stealing him from Dallas. I would have there's a quarterback I've talked about once that I think could be a hidden gem. And he's over in Detroit doing absolutely nothing. And that's Hendon Hooker, former Heisman Trophy winner, just sitting there doing nothing. Why is nobody talking about Hendon Hooker? What is going on with Hendon Hooker that there has not been a conversation that been had about him? Has no team even tried to make a trade offer for him? I don't understand it. Like, he was a young, highly talented, highly touted quarterback who just came into the league injured. And now I've read news that he's fully healthy and ready to go, but he's definitely not going to be playing in Detroit because they just signed Goff to a 4-year extension. So can we see Hendon Hooker end up on one of these rosters? And I don't really know what's going to happen, but the Jets did not address the quarterback position behind Aaron Rodgers beyond Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor's cool for like a game. But I think they might want to make a call to Ryan Tannehill just in case. All right. Then we have Cleveland. Cleveland, one of the best defenses in the NFL. You're going to get a full year of Deshaun Watson. You know, Amari Cooper being back. They bring in Jerry Jeudy. I don't believe in Jerry Jeudy at all. You got David Njoku, Isaiah Ford in the backfield. The possible return of Nick Chubb. You know, a good O-line, good coaching. So, you know, coach of the year last year. Jameis Winston as the backup just in case Deshaun Watson decides to, you know, give it up halfway through the season again. So I like this team. I don't think that they can win the division, but I do think that they can win a playoff spot. So we'll see how it plays out, but I like Cleveland here at 5. And then I got to go Buffalo. I had to drop Buffalo this far because the only way they replaced Stephon Diggs was Keon Coleman. And could Keon Coleman be a Stephon Diggs-like wide receiver? It's possible. He has excellent route running and can maintain speeds through his cuts. That's one of the most impressive things about Keon Coleman is his route running, his contested catch, and his ability to maintain speed through his cuts. So who knows how that goes. They added Marquise Valdes-Scantling, which is just Gabe Davis. So, you know, it's kind of the same. They did bring in a rookie running back for the goal line, so does that take away from James Cook? But James Cook, another year to add to his production, so I do like Buffalo. Then we got to go Indianapolis. Now, Indianapolis could jump, you know what I'm saying? Indianapolis could jump a couple teams. Anthony Richardson, if he stays healthy, is going to be a straight dog. We know that he could throw the ball. They got Michael Pittman. They have Josh Downs. Oh, and then they draft A.D. Mitchell, the ex-receiver, the deep threat. This offense is awesome. Jonathan Taylor, ready to go. I mean, this team is really nice. You know, could use a little bit of an adjustment on the defensive side of the ball. But this is a very good team, and I like what I see here, and they could really jump a few teams in my rankings. Then I got to go with Miami just once again because of all the offensive weapons they have. They're a fast team. They got, you know, arguably could be the best run game in the NFL. If Devon Achane and Mostert could stay healthy all year, this could be the best run game in the NFL. Hands down, the best running back duo in the NFL. So I got to put Miami there. Then I got the LA Chargers. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the LA Chargers. I told you, I think this wide receiver core is better than it looks. Ladd McConkey can do it all. He could play outside and he could play slot. Good hands, excellent route running. You know, not the highest quality of speed, but he got the speed. Joshua Palmer has proven time and time again that, you know, he's not a number one, but he's a low-end 2, high-end 3. Big body wide receiver who can get the ball in space. Then you have Brendan Rice. You know, this is Jerry Rice's son. He's got good route running, great hands. You know, I think that receiving from a guy like Justin Herbert under the coaching of Jim Harbaugh, I think people slept on Brendan Rice. I think he fell too far in the draft. I was really hoping the Patriots were going to take a swing on him, but the Chargers had to take both the receivers. Two of the receivers I wanted. Ladd McConkey was the one I wanted. I wanted him to be our first choice of wide receiver, but for some reason we trade that pick to the Chargers so they could take him, which was stupid. And then Brendan Rice, a late-round wide receiver. You know, we got Javon Baker, which I love, but I think we could have went next round Brendan Rice, and I think that would have really bolstered our wide receiver core. But anyway, I digress. Now I got to go Pittsburgh Steelers here. And I think that if Russell Wilson can turn it around under This really good coaching staff. Although I don't like Arthur Smith. I hate Arthur Smith, but he's only the offensive coordinator. Mike Tomlin is going to make the decisions, but they got the two-headed beast in the back. They've got George Pickens, third-year wide receiver, who's looking to make a big jump. They bring in Roman Wilson, which I really love this move. I think Roman Wilson is a sleeper this year. I think he's going to do really well. Steelers are amazing when it comes to drafting wide receivers. I thought they were going to go Brian Thomas Jr., but they flipped the script on me, and they did not. So I think this Steelers team could flip and could be very good. And if Russell Wilson fails, in comes Justin Fields, who with his legs will help bolster this team. And they still have one of the best defenses in the NFL. So I'm excited for what the Pittsburgh Steelers could bring this year. And quarterback play has elevated exponentially. So therefore, I expect better things from them. And they made the playoffs last year. Almost made the playoffs last year. So let's not forget that. Now I got to go with the Las Vegas Raiders because I love myself the magic mustache. Gardner Minshew is football. He's so exciting to watch. And let's not forget, if it wasn't for a drop pass, Gardner Minshew brings the Indianapolis Colts to the playoffs. Now you got Devontae Adams. You got Jacoby Myers. They draft the best tight end in the league, one of the best prospects at tight end since freaking Rob Gronkowski. This dude is a beast. And they got second-year Michael Mayer, who's hopefully going to make a leap this year. I mean, with all these offensive weapons and Zamir White, who's going to get his opportunities, super consistent in doing what he has to do with his touches. The defense completely underrated. Max Crosby is a monster. So this team is super underrated. I don't think they're going to finish too high. I don't think they want to finish too high, because I think they have their sights set on Shooter Sanders. So I got them down here in the bottom four of the AFC. Then I got to go Tennessee. Now, once again, this is another team I might be ranking a little bit too low. Maybe above Las Vegas. Possibly could be above Jacksonville due to the lack of weapons in Jacksonville. And I think I skipped Jacksonville because what's exciting to talk about in Jacksonville? There's nothing going on over there. They did draft Brian Thomas Jr. They have Christian Kirk. And they have Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne. So it's a quality offense. Defense is super sus. So that's why I have them so low. Tennessee could jump them easily, and so couldn't the Raiders. And we could be looking at one of the best quarterback prospects falling to the bottom of the AFC this season. But Tennessee, even with all the weapons, you got to count on. You got to count on Will Levis being able to air out the ball. They added J.C. Latham to that offensive line that was abysmal. I don't know if they added any other offensive weapons. Tennessee wasn't a team I paid a lot of attention to. But the offensive line was really the problem here. So if they addressed it enough, then we might see a Tennessee team that could elevate higher up the rankings. Now with the bottom two teams, it was between New England and Denver. The problem I have here is, which team finishes last? New England. They got the rookie quarterback, probably second best quarterback in the draft. Might be third, either way. But a lot of talent. But they didn't make a lot of moves on that offensive line, which wasn't great. But New England knows how to work an O-line. It wasn't just Belichick. New England knows how to work an O-line. So I think we can get that O-line nice and tight. We have a real good run game with Ramondre Stevens and Antonio Gibson catching passes out of the backfield. Now, with Jalen Polk, what is he going to be? Because he's a great contested catch guy. He also has really good route running, so I think this could be an excellent weapon. Javon Baker is a highlight reel. He's definitely a developmental guy, but I think, halfway through the season, he could really turn it on. You got Kendrick Bourne, a veteran speedster. Juju Smith-Schuster, who can now go back to playing that big-bodied slot role. Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper as the two tight end set. So I really like those guys. Not high-level tight ends, but they're good blocking tight ends, and they're excellent red zone threats. Our defense is top 10. So I think there is a strong possibility that maybe we don't finish bottom of the AFC. I definitely don't think we're going to come in last, but I think maybe second to last in the AFC, leaving the Denver Broncos, finishing at the bottom, rookie quarterback. They got rid of too many weapons, and not enough nice stuff going on in Denver for me to give them the ranking above bottom of the AFC. So it's going to be a battle, I believe, between the Giants, the Saints, New England, and Denver for that number one pick. And I hope it's not New England. And my problem with New England finishing so high is, like, are they going to get that wide receiver we need if they finish with a high pick? But I don't know. So what do we got here? I got 10 minutes, so let's see how many of these lists I can get through. So you know me. I love fantasy football. Fantasy is fast approaching. They dropped the available mock drafts, and you could do best ball. I'm a Yahoo Fantasy guy, so if you're doing Yahoo Fantasy, best ball is available. I've already done a best ball draft. I've done my mock drafts. I'm a fiend. I'm a sicko when it comes to fantasy football. I'm all about it. I love football in general, but fantasy just burns my fire, so I'm all up in it. So let me talk about a few guys. I got 11 guys on this list, and they're my too high list. I'm going to start off with probably the biggest surprise, which is Justin Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson right now being drafted, average draft ADP is 4. And to me, that is egregious. Homeboy missed half a season. Now, with that being said, he still broke 1,000 yards, having missed 6 games last year, right? So that says a lot for what the boy is. Also, he's got a rookie quarterback who's probably not going to start the season. He's going to start off with Sam Darnold. Is Justin Jefferson like D-Hop, where he's quarterback proof? I think that's very possible. But it still makes me a little leery to drop a top half pick on a guy like Justin Jefferson, who got hurt, missed a lot of time, rookie quarterback, but one of the best offensive-minded coaches. So I would prefer getting Justin Jefferson in the back half of the first round rather than the top half. Then I got to go with Puka Nacua. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Puka Nacua. I think Puka Nacua is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, but he's a first-round draft pick. This is only 1 year. Yes, he's still going to have the same quarterback. Yes, he's got one of the best coaches in the NFL in Sean McVay. But now they've had a year to see this. One of the things that reminds me of Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju was so nice when he was playing with A.J. Brown, and the following year he just kept falling lower and lower off that cliff. And now he's nobody. And I don't think that's going to happen to Puka, but first-round draft capital, you understand, the guy you draft in the first round, you believe is going to be the best guy on your roster. You think that's going to be Puka Nacua? I don't think it is. If you can get Puka in the middle of the second round, end of the second round, I'm not too mad about that. But, man, a guy who wasn't even drafted last year to a guy who's a first-round draft pick, now that was Adam Thielen, not too long ago. But I don't know. I find it tough to do that with Puka Nacua. Then I got to go same team, Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams is injury-prone. He has a history of injury. He's going down. And you're going to waste end of the first to middle of the second round pick on this guy? He's going to be your number one or depending on how you draft, number 1 or number 2 running back? I don't know. Too risky of a pick for me. Now, if you get Kyren Williams, you better make sure you're getting Blake Corum for when he goes down. But that's too high of a pick for me. Josh Allen. Josh Allen is being drafted as a late second, early third pick. Who's his weapons? Yeah, he's got the rushing capital. He's going to get the goal line touches, but and he's one of the best. Don't get me wrong. And if you was getting him into the third, early fourth, and if you got him at the end of the fourth, man, that's a value. I say take it all day. Late second, early third, I can't do it. Then I got Chris Olave. Chris Olave is a second-round pick again. Do you not remember what happened last year? He still has the same quarterback. Everything is the same. What are you doing? Chris Olave, to me, is a 4th-round draft pick at tops. That's the earliest I would ever draft Chris Olave, 4th round. But, and that's saying that he's either your number 3, that's number 3 wide receiver, top 2 at most. But it's tough for me. And that's not to say anything bad about Chris Olave. Chris Olave is a talented wide receiver. And if he had a talented quarterback, and Derek Carr is talented, but he's old. He doesn't have it anymore. So, because there was a time where he supported Devontae Adams. It's just not happening here in New Orleans. So, it's a tough one to call. Then I got to go Devon Achane. Devon Achane's a 2nd-round pick. 2nd-round pick. You know how many games he missed last year? Yeah, when he's on the field, he's super explosive. And if he's healthy all year, then that's great. But you're getting that as max value. These are players you're drafting at max value. So where you're drafting them is their ceiling. I want players that I'm drafting because I think they're going to exceed their ADP. Not where they're probably below their ADP, but at their best, they're going to hit their ADP. What's the point? It's all risk, no reward. There's no reward in drafting a guy who is going to do as good as the pick you spent on him. Where's the logic? Come on, guys. You got to think better than that. You don't want to draft a guy who the best he can do is where you drafted him at. Stupid. Let's move on to Marvin Harrison Jr. Super excited for Marvin Harrison Jr. But he's a rookie wide receiver. 1st year. Guys are going to be popping this dude off the line because they know who his daddy is. They know they know the clout coming behind his name. Nobody wants to get burned by a rookie wide receiver. I think they're going to go hard on this kid. They're going to say welcome to the NFL to Marvin Harrison. Plus, if I could get Marvin Harrison in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, yeah, that's great. Homeboy's going to end of the 2nd, maybe beginning of the 3rd. That means he's either your number 1 or depending on how you draft, he's either your number 1 or your number 2 wide receiver, and he's a rookie. That's insane to me. That is the only way Marvin Harrison should be your number 1 wide receiver is if you got him after drafting 2 running backs and a quarterback and you grabbed him in the 4th. It's too high. Come on. That's the highest he could be. Late 2nd round pick, that's the top of his value. Come on. All right, then I got Drake London. Drake London is a late 2nd, early 3rd round pick as well, going around the same time as Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, I do believe that there's a possibility that Drake London can finish the season as a top 10, top 15 wide receiver. But that's what you're drafting him as a top 10, top 15 wide receiver. He's never done it. Yeah, he gets Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins goes down. I believe in Michael Penix, but will Michael Penix support him as that caliber of a wide receiver? Is he actually that caliber, or have we just always hoped that he could be that? Because it hasn't actually happened yet. I don't know. A little scary for me. So let's not draft him so early. Houston wide receivers. Nico Collins is being drafted as a number 1 wide receiver. He's going in the end of the 2nd round. Yeah, he was awesome last year. I got him super late, like 10th round or something like that. Nico Collins is awesome, and he's going to be the number 1 guy in Houston. But you're drafting him at the peak of his potential. That's what I'm saying about these guys. We're drafting them all at the peak of their potential. It's not logical. And let's go with Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson being drafted as a top 5 quarterback. And don't get me wrong, if he stays healthy all year, that's exactly what he's going to be. He could 100% finish as the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. I have no doubt if he's healthy all season long, number 1 quarterback in fantasy. Drafted him in the 5th round. You're saying you're drafting him as a top 5 quarterback in fantasy football. But last year he played 4 games. You're willing to risk drafting Anthony Richardson in the 5th round where he might play 4 or 5 games? Where's the logic? I'm not feeling it. I don't like it at all, and I'm not going to do it. I want no part of it. Last guy is probably the most obvious guy on the list is T. Higgins. T. Higgins is being drafted in the 5th round, 6th round. Why? He didn't. He wasn't. He was healthy a good part of the year last year. Yeah, he got hurt sometimes, but he was healthy a good part of the year. Was he anybody's number two? He wasn't. I didn't see the great production. He had good games. He had spike games. 100% he did. But he didn't have round 5 caliber production. There's so many guys you can get in that place. There's guys you can get in the 6th and 7th round that I would draft over T. Higgins. T. Higgins to me is like 8, 9, 10. That may be egregious to everybody but me. But if I got to have 3 wide receivers on my team before I give T. Higgins a shot. And that's all I got to say. So my 2 high lists is all I got for you this week. Next week I got sleepers and I got players to avoid plus some other stuff. So I'll get to you next week. And until then, have a good night. Peace.